Beautiful people, Harrington here. All right, today we got something very concrete to talk about because we have a deadline coming up. It is the May 1st deadline to renew your Florida companies. Every year, and I don't judge you guys, I know you're busy, but every year, one or two of my clients will miss that deadline, and it's a shame because it's pretty nasty. It's $400. I've even seen $600 as the penalty if you miss that deadline. So we're going to do everything short of go to your house, to help you not miss that deadline, including this video. And while we're on the topic, let's cover a couple of related items such as registered agent and making amendments. And here we go. Our Practice Makes Perfect is the podcast for business owners and real estate investors, siempre con un cariño especial para los clientes extranjeros. Part 1, okay, let's just call this miscellaneous. Now, one of the reasons may be that some people end up missing this deadline is because it can be a little confusing. Florida has a single date that they've picked out in the year, and everybody has to renew their companies by this date, May 1st in our case. Not all jurisdictions do it that way. Wyoming, for example, it's just 12 months from whenever you actually register the company. That's when you have to renew. So there is no fixed date. I think it's the same way in Delaware as well, but don't quote me on that. So if you do have companies in multiple jurisdictions, it's understandable how you might get confused and forget that May 1st is like our drop dead deadline. Just getting briefly back to that penalty, it is nasty. I mean, it's ridiculous, actually. $400, $600 as a penalty. Believe it or not, there have been situations where our advice was to just abandon the old company and start a brand new one. After all, it's a fraction of the cost. I know that's ridiculous, and it's not going to happen to you guys, but it does come up. Last item in the miscellaneous category is this, amendments. If you need to make any changes to your company, you can do so for free as part of your annual renewal. So, if an address has changed, or if somebody has left, or you want to name somebody new as an officer to the company, or if you want to change your registered agent, some of those things would cost money during the year. You would have to actually pay for the amendment, but you get to do it for free now. So take advantage of that. And then item number 2, this is really the last thing I want to talk to you about today, is registered agents. It sounds like a pretty simple topic, but there are a few things that we should probably go over. As you almost certainly know, a registered agent is required for every company in the state of Florida, well, any company in any state, because there has to be a designated person to receive official documents. Usually that is complaints. If the company gets sued, then the registered agent will be the one who's served with the complaint. But the same is true for other official documents. Now, to be a registered agent, the requirements are pretty simple. Almost anybody can do it. You have to have an address within the state. It has to be a physical address. It can't be a P.O. box. So it's not hard to do, and it's tempting for people to act as their own registered agent. You're welcome to do so, but let me give you a couple things to consider. Actually, half step back. What do I mean by people acting as their own registered agents? Well, if it's your company, you as the president or the owner or the manager, you can name yourself personally as the registered agent for the company, and you can give either your work address or your home address as the registered agent's address. So you don't have to pay anybody to do it for you. You can just do it yourself. Well, that being the case, then why would anyone ever want to hire a professional registered agent if they can just do it themselves? There are a couple of reasons. First of all, obviously, you may not have an address within the state. Some people operate or live outside the state and then just do business within the state of Florida. Those people are going to need to, either have a friend or relative who will lend you their address and take on that responsibility, or hire a professional registered agent. And let me hasten to add at this point, a registered agent is cheap, very cheap. What do they charge? Like $70 maybe for the entire year? Maybe that. Some are even less probably. So we're not talking about a huge expenditure here. Okay, so reasons to hire a registered agent, even if you could do it yourself. Well, one is there's a bit of an embarrassment factor, or could be. If the registered agent is actually doing their work, it's probably being served in a lawsuit. So you may or may not want that happening within your place of business. Another thing is this, and it's a bigger concern actually, is, if the registered agent is not complying with the statutory requirements. For example, they have to be open during regular hours during the regular work week. There has to be a physical address. There has to be somebody manning the office. In other words, there has to be the person who's trying to deliver the official documents or legal documents has to have the ability to do so during the regular work week. And if those requirements are not met and the process server is unable to serve a human being within those parameters, then what happens? Well, as a factual matter, the plaintiff will have to track down the owner wherever and however it can. But I have a bigger concern. It is possible. It's not easy. In the state of California, it's easier to get people served. But in Florida, it's not easy to effectuate personal service without actually finding the human being and putting the process in their hands. But there are some mechanisms, such as substitute service, such as service by publication, that could come into play. And those are dangerous. Let me explain. I don't want to get too much in the weeds as to in rem, quasi in rem, in personam. I'm not even going to get into any of that. But let me just give you the basic concept. Okay. Service by publication means that in most cases you'll have to ask the court for permission. Not in all cases, but you may want to ask the court for permission to do so. And it means that you're going to run an ad for 2 consecutive weeks in a newspaper that nobody ever looks at ever. And once you do so, then that will be considered perfected service. The case will be allowed to continue. Substitute service, actually, it's the same thing, but there may be other ways as well that you can get permission from the court to advance a case, even though you didn't actually put the complaint in somebody's hand. Substitution of service. Okay, so who cares about that? Well, you might, because if the plaintiff is trying to serve you personally and is unable to do so because you're not meeting the requirements of a registered agent, and then the plaintiff goes on to do one of these other methods of service, methods that will certainly not give you a realistic opportunity to respond. I mean, if they do the publication, you're not going to know. Then you're going to end up losing the case by default. Right? Almost certainly. Now, if a default gets entered against you, then maybe that's when you're going to come running to me, and I'm going to have to then do some extra work to try and get that set aside, and maybe I'll be able to do so, but who wants to go through all that? It's potentially dangerous, it's nerve-wracking, and the cost of a professional registered agent is super minimal. So, consider hiring a registered agent. In conclusion, don't miss that deadline, whatever you do. Now, clients that have been with us for a long time, that we have traditionally provided that service to our clients. We've recently outsourced it, however, to the Space Connect. They're doing it for us instead. I will personally make sure that the Space Connect or my office reach out to you via email. And in every way we have time to reasonably do to make sure that you don't miss that deadline. Now, please bear in mind that neither my office nor the Space Connect is going to just do it automatically. We do need to hear from you. Recall, there's an out-of-pocket expense for one thing, but also we need to know, if you want to renew the company. Maybe the company's not done well, you're just going to let it fold. You have to tell us and give us permission to renew the company for you. And of course, if you want to make any changes, let us know that as well. But here we are. It's spring. Spring has sprung. May 1st is your deadline. Let's not miss it and get penalized. All right. See you guys next week.